Horror films are one of the most popular types of films, especially during the Halloween season. A few blood-curdling screams, bloody sprays, and madman, either masked or unmasked, chasing after their victims. We've all seen them and enjoyed. But what happens when the monster in the movie is based on a real story? What if fiction somehow held truth, even if just a tiny bit, and gave us a glimpse into the nightmare images only the killer and his victims witnessed live? On today's show, we'll be talking about a name that's infamous to some, both as a film inspiration and to others as a killer who left his mark, for going more than extreme on some others. Farmhouse of Horrors, the Ed Gein story. To understand the mind of a killer and sometimes why they do the terrible things that they do, we must have to understand their story and the environment around them. For some, abuse, be it sexual, physical, or psychological, can leave an impression and cause them to reenact their feelings towards their abuser on others. Some have said this was the case in Ed's story, given his mother's abusive behavior towards him. But to understand, we have to go back a bit. Edward Gein was born in La Crosse County, Wisconsin on August 27, 1906. He was the second of two boys to George and Augusta Gein. It was said Ed's father was a quiet man but had a drinking problem, something his wife didn't agree with. Although he did own a local grocery store for a few years, the family lived in total isolation on their farm with the children, only interacting with the outside world when they went to school. Something Ed's mother took advantage of. His mother was inadvertently religious, a follower of the Lutheran faith. She preached to her boys about the innate immorality of the world, such as evil of drinking, and her belief that all women, except herself, were naturally promiscuous and instruments of the devil. Going further, she even reserved a section of time every afternoon to read to them from the Bible, usually selecting verses from the Old Testament. The verses she picked usually talked about death, murder, and divine retribution. By April of 1940, Ed's father died at the age of 66 due to his alcoholism, and in the following months, Ed's brother Henry began dating a divorced mother of two and planned to leave the family's small isolated farm and move in with her, something that really hurt and upset Ed greatly. On May 16, 1944, Henry and Ed were burning away marsh vegetation on the property. Although it's not clear how the fire started or got out of control, a fire sparked and pulled the fire department. By the end of the day, Henry was reported missing and later found face down by a local search party. It was determined that he had been dead for some time, and it appeared that the cause of death was heart failure due to no burns or injuries found on his body. Otherwise, it would be later the official cause of death would be listed as asphyxiation, drawing later theories. Ed had killed his brother, but it had never been officially confirmed. During the following year, Ed and his mother were now alone and living in the isolated farmhouse together. During this time, she suffered a stroke, and Ed became her full-time caregiver. But by December of the same year, She would suffer a second stroke and pass away, leaving Ed alone. Many said he was devastated by the loss, and after losing her felt truly alone. On the morning of November 16, 1957, Plainfield hardware store owner Bernice Worden disappeared. Some local had reported that the hardware store truck had been driven away at 9:30 a.m., although the store was closed. Many thought deer hunting season was why. It wasn't until 5 p.m. that day that the store owner's son entered the store and found the store's cash register open and bloodstains on the floor.